Hey, yo, what's going on, you guys? We have a brand new episode of Marvel Yap today. Today, we're going to be talking about what cards we think would be the best to drop down to Series 4, Series 5, with some in-depth analysis there. We're also going to be reacting to the OTA, talking about Redwing, talking about Thaddeus Ross, as well as we have our own little soapbox moment at the very end, where we have our own little banter or... What's another way to describe it? We just have another moment where we just kind of take center stage and we talk about what we would like change in Snap, as well as hear from maybe a rebuttal or whatever from Dance or myself as well. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, we're joined with the hostest with the mostest, not my Dance. How are we doing today, Dance?
I'm doing absolutely great. It's been a good day so far. It's been a lot of fun. I'm excited for, just what's currently going on in Snap. Not to mention, I will throw this out there, not to mention Harrison Ford in between us here. It's a good day. It's a good day. Sorry, I got distracted by him. How's it going for you today?
Honestly, I hadn't put too much to like how much this kind of looks more like Harrison Ford than I thought, actually, after seeing Brave New World, which I know you also have seen this past weekend, which I genuinely enjoyed the movie and thought it was very fun and entertaining. Like, I didn't think it was like the best Marvel movie ever, but I was entertained pretty much the entire time.
I think it was equivalent to probably, maybe the first Captain America. It was a good movie. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't top of the line. It wasn't any. It was good. Done. It doesn't need to be more. It was just a good movie, and I think it was. I feel like everyone's expecting now Endgame and Infinity War level stuff, right? And that's not how the MCU has ever been. Like there are countless misses, countless things that are there, and it was just a good movie. I don't think it had to do anything crazy. It was a lot of fun. I don't want to, again, no spoiling stuff in the movie, but I will say, if they hadn't shown Red Hulk in the teasers, if that wasn't in their line of this stuff, I feel like I would have appreciated this movie so much more. I'm not going to go into specifics, but I wish that I wish that Red Hulk wasn't a part of the marketing. I wish that wasn't anything. I wish it was Sam and you do other stuff that I don't want to say again because specific movie detail. We're not saying any spoilers, but that's just the biggest thing I felt about the movie, where it was just like, if you didn't know about Red Hulk, I think the movie just feels cooler. Like, when what was it in Civil War? Ant-Man turned into Giant Man.
Yeah,
that was really cool, but they didn't show that in trailers. I don't know. I liked it. What did you think, though?
I think you nailed it right on the head. I think they were trying to get as many people into the movies as possible, showing the trailers the way they did. Whereas if they had left more overall stuff, kind of just hidden behind the scenes, kind of like the way I think that their marketing for Thunderbolts is, opposed to their marketing has been for Brave New World, I think that would have been better. But there were a lot of aspects in this movie I was like, that's really cool. I'm really glad this is part of it. Like, I'm glad this feels kind of like a unique story in a sense, if you kind of look at it from like a different perspective, opposed to going in and thinking, it's Steve Rogers Captain America, because it's not. Because like it's different and it feels different and it's a good different.
Sam takes more hits than he should be able to. I'm just gonna put not, but I will say, again, spoilerless. The ocean scene was the best. That was, I forgot I was watching a movie at that point. I was just so into it, and every single thing that was happening, I was, I think the movie was a lot of fun. Again, it's a movie that I'm going to be happy to rewatch at some point whenever I do like an MCU rewatch. It's not going to be, I don't feel like it's going to be anything akin to like Thor: The Dark World, where I'm like, do I really need to see them introduce an Infinity Stone here? It's going to be like, this is a fun time. Yeah, that's. Again, spoiler free. I'm trying to be very careful here about this movie, but yeah, it was a good time. I'm excited for Thunderbolts.
You go to the movies to have a fun time, and it does just that. But we also got some topics today that we're going to be talking about besides just the movie. We have the best series drops. By this, we mean cards that we feel like would be the best pickup post-series drop, as well as cards overall that we think are genuinely good cards. This, of course, is recorded before we know what cards are specifically dropping. So just keep that in mind as well, which is why we're trying to also waver our opinion just on the value of the cards themselves before the price tag on them as well. And then we also have the OTA reaction, which we actually had a pretty interesting OTA, which I'm really happy for us to talk about. And then we have the Ranting Hour, which is a new segment where Dance and I are going to be standing on our soapbox and talking about some stuff in Snap that we don't really like. It's not going to be as long as probably this first segment. This first segment is going to be the longest. But yeah, while we jump over to the next scene over here, while we start talking about the Series 4 and Series 5 cards, we're on Snap.fan right now. And this is overall Series 4 and Series 5 cards from their release date to now. And it's interesting.
This is going to be a really interesting. So I want to say one of the first things that we know about series drops was, what is it? That there are going to be, what is it? For one, they said that this is going to be their largest series drops ever. It's just straight up. That is direct quoted from them when they told us that Nebula will be dropping to Series 3. They told us stuff in advance. We didn't talk about that last week, really, because there was enough other stuff we were talking about. But Nebula is Nebula's gonna be dropping to Series 3, which is very interesting. And I think I want to say, with that in mind, Tucker, we have 1, 2, 3 other cards that are Series 4 that released in season passes before her.
Yep.
Do you think that those 4 cards, which are Zabu, MODOK, Nimrod, and Hitmonkey, are these some of your candidates for like dropping here?
So it's very, very interesting because 3 out of 4 of these cards, I think, are a little bit more niche and narrow when it comes to deck building. And that would be MODOK, Nimrod, and Hitmonkey. I think they're a little bit more narrow. So I totally am hopeful that these would be cards that drop down to Series 3 and become more accessible. Not just because of, their age, but because of, how niche they are. Whereas Zabu, I wouldn't be surprised if it stays Series 4 because of just all the interaction it does, and it's more wide and versatile. But maybe I'm hopeful it drops too. I don't know. I just feel like, yes, some of these season pass cards should definitely be dropping, especially like when you do put the emphasis on Nebula dropping. And then there's some other Series 4 cards even before that. I think that should be dropped as well. I mean, we just got Null for free. Maybe, I don't know. Darkhawk's not as relevant right now on the meta. Maybe Darkhawk can drop so more people have access to him. I don't know.
It's interesting. So I'm in agreement that I think there is potential for 3 of those 4 cards to drop. The only one I actually disagree with Nimrod, though.
Okay.
Purely because he's in a spotlight cache, not today, but next week, and they haven't told us that he's dropping.
That's a good point, since they did tell us that Nebula is dropping.
Exactly.
Unless they were just really tunnel visioned on this and said Nebula, even though Nimrod is also dropping.
They also said Nebula, right as soon as the card came out. So maybe that's, again, another delay, another wait thing.
Also, think of Stature. Before Stature dropped, Stature was Dynamite in Spotlights, and they didn't make any mention about Stature being Dynamite in Spotlights, and then Stature dropped.
But she dropped...
She dropped the month before, though. She did.
Yeah, she dropped the month before, and then when the patch came out, the Spotlights updated. They can't do that with the Nimrod one, I don't believe, because the patch is... I think it's going to be March 4th?
Yeah.
And that would be, another week from today or 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
Which doesn't give them time for so Nimrod's the one that I actually am least confident on, just in terms of these cards.
Okay.
But I think Zabu could also. I think Zabu, Hitmonkey, and MODOK could all drop. Zabu's been here for what is it? Zabu's been in the game for, fun fact, 1 month less than Silver Surfer.
Kind of crazy. Silver Surfer is Series 3, if you guys did not know that, of course.
So
but that's funny.
Right? You don't think about that, but that is that's a legit point. And that's why I think that Nimrod doesn't drop, because they didn't tell us that. Zabu, MODOK, and Hitmonkey, all 3 drop.
Okay.
But we also have big bads, which technically they got rid of the big bad, the whole thing. I don't want to gloss over the people, because this is the order these cards came out, and technically Galactus and Thanos came out for everyone else, and they are still Series 5. I don't believe they drop still.
No, I don't think so.
And this is going to go into a point that I've said other times in the Yap, where just the more of these cards that they're dropping, because again, here's the thing. I think Zabu, MODOK, and again, Hitmonkey are all cool cards to drop. But these are, again, I just picture new player, first time leaving Series 2, and the first card they draw is Hitmonkey.
Yeah.
It just
they could still play the deck, though.
No, they still could.
Yeah.
This is why I really think that I have to hope that, because they said card acquisition updates happening in the first quarter of this year. Didn't get it in the first patch, not in the second patch, and I have to assume some better form of card acquisition is occurring in this coming patch in 2 weeks.
Because this ends the third quarter, right? Or is the third quarter first quarter end in April? Is it March or April?
It would end in March. So the
Okay.
end of March is the end of the first quarter. So
Oh boy.
I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's actually going to be occurring. But if this is if this is the end, quote unquote, or if this is the not mastery, sorry,
Acquisition.
like acquisition fix or whatever, I hope they figure out something more elegant than just this massive pile of Series 3 cards that is
Overwhelming.
It's overwhelming for a new player, and to know that for a new player, I have just as much chance to get a great card. Again, let's imagine Zabu drops to Series 3. As a new player, I have just as much chance to get Zabu from from one of the collector's reserves or whatever. Just as much chance to get Zabu as I do to get Drax.
Dance loves Drax, by the way. That's why he brings him up every time.
I wish Drax was better. So that's as we're going in these, I'm gonna say a bunch of cards are gonna drop potentially to Series 3 or whatever. But if in my ideal perfect world, it's not just a Series 3. There's just not more cards getting added to Series 3 or Series 4 or whatever. There is a legitimate change to the way that they view just all those other sections.
Gotcha.
Because I don't know. It's just too narrow right now, I think.
Yeah, there's got to be another way. Either it's them shortening the amount of whatever upgrades you need to get to a cache on the collector's track to be able to pump out those a little bit sooner. It's just, yes, adding a lot of these cards down to Series 3 is good if you don't own the cards, but at the same time, it does make it much harder for you to be collection complete because there's just so many different cards that are going to be jumbled up in there.
And again, it's a lot of the stuff's gonna be good for people who have been playing the game for a while, but I'm very specifically trying to think for people who just jump into the game and their first experience as they leave the safety net of the safety net of the early series is Hitmonkey. It's it's MODOK, and you're like, really? This is what we kind of have right now.
Yeah, I don't know. But as we continue though, we know Nebula is dropping down to Series 3. Jeff drops down to Series 4.
I think Jeff is another good. Again, this is I don't know how many we're getting, and that's a different question.
Right.
But Jeff is an amazing candidate for dropping because he's just been out for a while. He's no longer meta relevant because the meta no longer relies on him. You know?
Yeah.
And I agree. I agree 100% that Jeff's a great shout. Do you actually? I know you mentioned Null and Darkhawk earlier. Do you actually think either of them are dropping here?
I don't necessarily know. I can say with confidence. I think it's very interesting, like that we did just get Null and X23 as a community, which X23 and Null are both Series 4 cards that we just got for. I know it's variants, so of course you still have to get the card itself to technically own the card. My gut makes me think that it's pretty possible that they could be series drops. I think it would be great for the game overall, like just to have more of those enablers for Destroy not being behind a paywall, since like a lot of people just love to play Destroy as it is, and it's not necessarily a very like, I mean it's kind of aggressive, but like it's not really like a offensive archetype. So it's not like some of these mill cards that I think still should be, Series 4 and Series 5 because it's deterring what your opponent can play and it's super aggressive and it feels like kind of those. Whereas like Destroy, there's a bunch of counters for it and like you still die to like bad draws and stuff. I feel like it would be okay for the game's life cycle if some of those cards were more accessible than being behind a Series 4, Series 5 roll.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I don't think I like Darkhawk specifically dropping there though.
Yes.
I think Darkhawk in particular, right? It's just there's so many enablers that are all stuck behind Series 3 that to put Darkhawk behind Series 4 makes sense because the whole deck pretty much exists in Series 3, so then you go to Series 4. And so that at least in my mind tracks, but I don't know if that's still the correct thing here. But also, one of the other things I didn't realize here, when you look at that Nebula season that she was in, it was Nebula, Iron Lad, High Evolutionary, Living Tribunal, and I don't remember
Howard
the next one. Okay, cool. So Howard the Duck has made it all the way to Series 3, and every single other card in that group is still up there.
Yep. You think Haiva drops?
Part of me says no, but honestly, considering it's, I wouldn't mind if it dropped. I don't know if I say yes.
It was a big bad originally. But the way the deck flows and stuff, it is more applicable because a lot of the cards are, early series or Series 3 cards. So having this as a resource or even just a little bit cheaper as an earlier collection level player could be beneficial for the game.
You know what? I'll make a dumb prediction. If High Evo drops, I think he goes to Series 3.
All the way from 5 to 3.
If I'm talking about, again, one of the things I'm thinking about is if you're an earlier player and you're trying to unlock new decks to play with, this is a new deck that you have every other card for pretty much already, other than Wasp.
True. Yeah.
It probably won't. I'm probably hoping, but you know what? If it happens, I think I could see it going all the way down to Series 3, and I think I have no issue with that occurring.
Okay. Howard went straight from... Howard he dropped twice. It was Echo. I think Echo dropped from 5 to... Or it was...
I don't think we've had anyone skip 2 tiers, so I'm probably coping hard here. I don't think anyone's ever skipped 2 or skipped a full series grouping, quote unquote.
I thought we had one card, but let us know down below that I could be just thinking something else.
That could be correct too. That's why they can tell us.
Tribunal.
This is an interesting one. I don't know. I have no idea if this one would drop, actually.
Ghost Spider, yes.
Yes. Ghost Spider, Silk, yes. I'm going to say yes on both of those.
Spider Ham.
I could see it. I want to say... I'm going to say we're going to start actually... here's the thing. The largest series drop, I think the only amount of... the most amount of cards we've ever had drop in series at the same time I want to say it's been like, is it like 12 cards? I wish we actually knew this off the
It's like 12 to 15 or something.
Just talking about the cards we have. Let's imagine it's Zabu, MODOK. We didn't even mention Kang because it's not even a card. I don't care.
Don't tell Robo
Jeff?
that.
Zabu, MODOK, Nimrod, Hitmonkey. Let's imagine 3 of those 4. We both agree on that. Jeff, Nebula, we already know. Iron Lad, I think is fair. High Evolutionary, Living Tribunal, Ghost Spider, Silk. Then you get to Spider Ham. That's 11 already. That you've already hit 11 in this point, just like really closely. And so, as much as I really want them to drop a lot of cards,
It's supposed to be the biggest series drop ever.
biggest series drop ever. What is it? If I tell you I'm going to give you the biggest meal you've ever had, and all you've had up until this point is a pea each time you have a meal, I could give you a baked bean, and that would be your biggest meal you've ever had. It's not a big meal, but it is, by definition, the biggest meal you've ever had. That's the differentiation I'm going to make here, Tucker.
It's true. It's true. All I've had is peas.
All you've had are peas, exactly. I think, what is it? I don't think we're going to see as many cards potentially dropping all the way to Series 3 outside of, I want to honestly say, Spider-Ham is the last one I could see dropping outside of Series 3. To Series 3.
Not Legion and Dokken?
No. I don't believe Dokken or Legion dropped to Series 3. I think Dokken... What is it? Dokken is still... What is it? Dokken still does a lot of other stuff, and I think it's still a complicated card. And Legion is also a complicated card because it requires you to understand locations a lot more so.
Yeah.
I don't see personally either one of those cards dropping to Series 3. However... Not even saying like all the cards above it, right, are definitively dropping. But these cards that are all the rest of these cards, there are many cards I'm looking through this list as well that I think we could be seeing drop to Series 4.
Yeah.
Because if you scroll a second down, I don't think X-23 drops because she just did. Lady Deathstrike again, it's Series 4. Going both those. I think we could see the Loki season drop. Every single card in that season drop.
So Series 3 Ravonna, Series 3 Mobius.
Okay, wait, maybe not every single card. I thought every single card was in Series 5. I think every single card in that season would go to Series 4.
You know, Eliath?
I think so. I know Eliath is a crazy big card, but I think it's, it's one that kind of ebbs and flows with the meta. I don't think it's, It depends on what you're trying to do in the meta. I think we could easily see a time soon where Eliath will return, which is going to be unfortunate, just due to the way that a lot of the meta is building up because, we'll talk about the OTA reaction in a second. Yeah. But looking at these, looking at, I guess I'm just going to say Loki and Eliath. I guess it's just those two, which for some reason I guess I thought it was more. But I think those two are honestly cards that I could easily see dropping to Series 4. And I think as we get further and further down, a lot of these cards could be dropping to Series 4. Up until, I don't know. Honestly, I would say probably up until we get to, I'm going to say like all the way up to like the Thanos season from last year.
You know, so like Elsa drops though, right?
I think Elsa drops, right?
Okay.
I think Elsa drops. 100%.
Black Knight.
I think, what was it? I think Elsa, Black Knight. Nico's the one. If they don't, I won't be surprised.
Werewolf.
I think it's the best card. Werewolf by Night, I think drops. Miss Marvel drops. Again, Gladiator Series 4. I'm saying these cards dropping to Series 4. I don't think that they're going to drop every single one of these cards is going to drop a series, but I think we could see the cards you're hovering that are Series 5, Annihilus, Sebastian Shaw, you got Blob, you got, what is it? I think your next one would be, is it Kyera?
Yeah, Kyera's the next one.
Kyera and Scar?
Scar is in Spotlights in March too.
He's still Series 4, though.
Series 5.
No, I'm saying he would still drop to Series 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are all cards I could very easily see go to Series 4. It's a big group, I know. I'm sorry. But I just think that in general, we could see basically that like section of cards drop to Series 4, and then the section before, I could see the majority of those cards dropping to Series 3. That's where I'm at with that. With this with the previously released cards. Where do you think? Sorry, I just kind of gave like a big amount for a lot of them here. Scrolling back up, I know I just went through a lot right there quite quickly.
So I agree with a lot of these two. I definitely think Loki didn't get changed in the OTA unless they change him at the OTA at the end of the month. Loki should be a Series 4 card. Alioth, I'm on the fence about. I think Alioth still is very strong and prevalent. It's a kind of, I don't necessarily know if they want more people to have their hands on Alioth with how just the ability flows, but who knows? Maybe it's another Airshim enabler, or if they do have an Airshim bundle coming up in March, and if they want to, push that, maybe dropping Alioth to make that deck even more applicable for Airshim enjoyers could be there. Same Legion, I think could potentially drop to Series 3. I just, like you said, if you look at it logistically speaking about how many cards they have dropped each season, we can say we hope for all of this, but the odds of them dropping 30 cards to like Series 3 are not very high, but we can still be hopeful. Dawkin, I think, he's in the season pass last season, but like I still think it's applicable that he could drop. Phoenix Force, I don't see Phoenix Force dropping anytime soon from Series 4. Same with Man-Thing. I think Ravonna and Mobius stay Series 4 as well. Black Knight Series 4. Nico 5. Werewolf 4. Miss Marvel 4. Gladiator 4. Annihilus 4. Shaw 4. Blob 4. Havoc 3. Celine, Celine needs to go down to 3. Unless they completely OTA her like they did,
we have the one that they put in the Portuguese thing, which it actually took a bit, but we got that for Doom 2099.
Yeah.
They make her a steel card, and one of the things I'll say is I don't want the card. I don't want it just to be the card isn't as good.
Yeah.
And so it should drop. So like when you said earlier that if Loki doesn't get OTA'd, he should get dropped. I don't agree with that.
You think Loki overall should just be dropped because of time?
No. Yes, because of time. I think if we're gonna judge, sorry, minor spoiler towards Rant stuff, and this is going to be potentially part of the logic for there, but I don't think cards should be dropped based off of ability. I think, or like based off of the ability being too good or too bad. I think cards should be dropped based off of, the complexity of the card and the time existed in the game.
Well, like Loki,
both of those.
Good, bad can boil down to complexity as well. Like it kind of can bleed into each other.
Yes, but also Werewolf by Night's honestly a very simple ability, but a very complex card. Doesn't mean
simple ability. I don't think it's a simple ability. It's
it's
over. No, you said it's a simple ability but complex card. It's just complex.
I thought I meant it was complex. It's a complex card with a simple ability. I don't know. You know what I mean there. I don't just think because a card is very it's super simple or it's not good. I don't think that means no. I don't
think so. Complicated cards should be Series 4 and Series 5.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Again, giving you a learning curve in the game.
You should have to pay for a learning curve.
No, I think, again, this is the logic that this goes into the point where I said earlier, because again, fun fact, by the way, just right now in the game, there are, without series drops, without anything confirmation, the size of, the only size of any series, I believe, that is, because Series 1 is technically split into the recruit season, and then Series 1, and then there's also the ones you get in the past, there's all that different stuff, so Series 1 can technically get larger, because I don't know where everything fits, but Series 2 only has 25 cards in it, Series 4 has 35, Series 5 has 78, Series 3 currently has 112 cards. So, again, my logic here is the same thing I said earlier. If I'm going from a place where I just got a brand new card that's Series 2, the simple Series 2 cards, and then you give me a card as complex or as difficult to understand as Celine, I don't think that could work. I don't think that makes sense to me, personally. Does that make sense what I'm trying to differentiate there?
Yes, but I don't feel like getting Celine as soon as you hit Series 3 is really hard to understand. I think you're playing the game for so long at that point still that you know what this means. And I don't think she needs to be higher up because she has
I don't think
ability.
she needs to be higher. I just think Series 4.
No. I don't think because it's something you haven't seen before and needs to be in a higher series.
Okay, not just even high, not even just that. It's like, it's a, I don't know, it's a very complex ability to figure out even how to use it correctly, similar to honestly kind of Havoc. I don't know if I see Havoc in a world similarly where that's a card that should be dropped to Series 3, because if my first experience, again, the logic of like leaving the Series 2 bubble, and that's where a lot of my stuff's coming from. I'm not trying to say that I don't want these cards to be cheaper and more accessible. I do, Tucker. I would love these cards to be more accessible, cheaper, whatever. I'm simply talking about, and again, it's my logic for a lot of stuff, the new player experience and what I think the new players should find and learn through in terms of different abilities, different cards. I don't think Havoc should be one of the first cards that they get into when they get into the real pool of Snap.
At what point are you not a new player?
I don't think there's a definitive answer. I think it just depends on your own experience and how long you spent in the game. I don't think I could always say you're no longer a new player once you've, I don't know, played for 20 minutes, 20 hours. I don't know. There are plenty of people I've seen who have played this game for hours.
Do you have to be at a certain point in Series 3 to not be a new player? Is that why you're putting behind, like, you don't want to get Havoc as one of your first cards because you're still quote-unquote a new player, even at collection level over 480?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't know, maybe past collection level 1000. I'm not saying that for certain because I don't remember every single thing that happens there. But like, that's my reason why I don't want to just say because a card is what is it? It's not good, then it should get dropped. Because then I think we kind of, again, it just kind of makes this big pool of Series 3. If they're not fixing Series 3 and not going to fix this massive pool where every single other card exists in the game, which maybe it's not a problem. Maybe I'm a dumb one or a weird person out who sees it as a problem. And Second Dinner thinks, nah, we love players diving straight into the deep end of the pool and their first experience with, Series 3 after getting cards, like they just got a card like Cloak as their last card and they're like, okay, cool, I get this. Sure, that all works. And then the very next card they get is some complicated card. I don't know. What is it? If I'm looking through these here. Titania is your next one. Snowguard is your next one. Like,
I mean,
Snowguard's the worst option. I'm going to say that. I'll go with Martyr. These cards that I think are more complex require you to do more things. Spider-Man 2099. What's the value in a Stegron here? Why am I playing? What is it? Like, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with that. You could disagree with me entirely.
I mean,
Hopefully I'm making sense.
I see what you're saying, but I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying. Like, there's definitely cards that are really complex, like, for sure. And not all of those maybe necessarily need to be dropped. But there need to be complex cards that do drop as well for people to be able to even learn some of those just newer mechanics to just continue to progress and understand the game better. Because a lot of these cards, even if you're getting up to collection level 480, you may have gotten from card generation. Maybe, you've gotten stuff like that. So, like, even then, you're still reading the cards. You're just taking the time. Like, if you're progressing already to a point where you just got the game and you're at 480, I really think you really are wanting to learn as much as possible, especially now. Whereas I think a lot of people, when it comes to these series drops, are not new players trying to get these cards. I think it's just a lot of cards overall people are trying to have to complete their collection now because there's no new player experience yet. And I think they need to establish a better new player experience, whether that is with card acquisition or whether that is them adding some other new mechanics and stuff to the game. I think that will help that aspect, whereas the series drop now is for concurrent players that are past the new player stage that just don't have a lot of cards that they see their favorite streamer or content creator make and just want to have access to those to be able to build decks.
Yeah, that's entirely fair, and that's kind of why I'm trying to say very specifically I'm giving these points for the new player experience because I know that you're 100% correct there. That the argument for me saying that these cards that are worse or whatever shouldn't be dropping immediately goes away when you go to the fact that you would like more people to get these cards. And again,
Yeah.
I said that I want more people to get these cards. I think that's a good thing. I want more people having more toys to play with is good, straight up. And that's kind of why I say I would rather them, if I'm hoping a Series 3 change occurs, because then that means that there's, what is it? You group up a lot of these Series 4 cards, or maybe some more of the complex Series 3 cards.
Yeah.
What is it? Increase the tiers. I'm not saying that you need to make them more expensive or whatever, but like,
put them in Conquest
honestly,
Shop
like,
or something. Just like give us a game mode. Like I like the aspect of Sanctum Showdown having an opportunity to get new cards.
That's such a good shout. Yeah.
If they just gave it either like in ranked, maybe instead of you get this now, or like you place a certain way, you have an opportunity to do this. I don't necessarily want these cards to be behind another pack system, but even if it's like they just add more rewards to the game to give you better opportunities, I think that would be solid. And like I'd like it to be season-long opportunities opposed to just like a week or a 2-week kind of option.
Yeah.
Because then, like, you can kind of do it more leisurely. Not every single person is going to be able to play Snap for hours and hours every single day. Whereas with this game mode, the way they're describing it, it's a very grindy game mode in the sense, like, you really need to play. Deadpool's Diner was still grindy. High Voltage was less grindy because you had the missions to really help boost what you were doing, which I really enjoyed that, and the games were very fast. So maybe not in a conquest aspect, but maybe in like a ranked kind of aspect, like leagues, but not in the sense where you're battling maybe against people. Maybe you're just trying to hit certain accolades or certain achievements each season to unlock tiers. I think that would be cool instead of it being necessarily a competition, even though competition and stuff is good. And I know we're on a tangent right now, but they got to do something. Just
it's almost like we're yapping. Yeah, I agree. I mean, here's the thing. If what I would prefer, if just as I guess a final point on this, before we actually focus back on the series drops, at least for a second over here, is what if they? I'm saying they add another series, but I'm not trying to say they increase the cost. I say they add another series. It's a Series 6. All the cards that are currently Series 5 go to Series 6, and Series 6 costs 6,000 tokens. You get a Series 5. All the 4 cards currently go into that group, and those cost 3,000 tokens. Then you get a Series 4. Those cost 1,000 tokens. And then that's kind of where you split most of like Series 3 into 2 separate groups there. Make the simpler cards, what is it? Put the simpler cards into a Series 3 that maybe costs 500 tokens if you really are going to make it still cost tokens. And then you got the Series 4 there still that can have the rest of those cards. The cards that I'm talking about, I think that are more complex. You put those up a little bit higher, and that's where those differentials exist. And if something like that occurs, I think I'm fine with a lot of this stuff. But again, that's very specific situations, and there's a lot of other cards here. Because, legit question, there's, what is it? It's been over a year, right? Every single card that we've talked about up until this point released over a year ago.
Yep.
Do we see any of the cards from the past year dropping?
And that's like from Thanos season, right? Yeah, that's from...
Yep, Thanos season. Oh, is it? So, yep, is it? Or, no. So, sorry, Black Swans was actually February season. So, basically, Black Swan onwards.
So, Black Swan, okay. Yeah.
So, Black Swan onwards pretty much is every other card that's come out in the past year. Or at least gone to Series 5, approximately in the last year. Do we see any of these cards dropping to Series 4? Or, I think only 4, maybe a couple of them can go to 5? Or, sorry, 3. But...
yeah, I think... Black Swan goes to 4.
I can see that, yeah.
Cole goes to 4.
I want that. I hope it does. I don't know if it will.
Yeah. Corvus goes to 4.
I could see... yeah, I could see pretty much every single of Thanos' cards potentially dropping to 4. This is, again, I'm
Proxima still being Series 5 is crazy.
Fair, yeah, Proxima still... oh, it's wild that Proxima's actually stopped being, really inside of a lot of discard decks. Yeah.
Proxima for Hope.
Get to the, what is it? This is Avengers versus X-Men season, I believe, right? Yep. I don't think Mockingbird will drop.
No, Mockingbird stays. Pixie might go to 3.
I just think, straight up, I just think that they're making money off Mockingbird, and I don't think they're going to.
No.
Pixie, Pixie is one I couldn't see go to 3, to be honest.
You couldn't see Pixie go to 3?
Same logic I've given before. Just as an ability. Anyway.
Okay.
What
Hope
is it?
Summers, I think, could stay 5.
The problem is I'm also agreeing with this, but again, we're getting to the cards that are a lot better, and I really would like to see some of these cards here hopefully drop to Series 4.
Cannibal 4.
Mm-hmm.
War Machine 5.
I could see War Machine dropping to 4 still, actually.
Okay.
I think he's, again, if we're going to go off complexity, this is a card I could see potentially going to Series 3. This is just not a complex card.
Okay.
That's my logic for this potential. Not saying it will, but I'm not saying it will this time, but just in general, that's a card I could see dropping all the way to Series 3 eventually.
Zemo.
Zemo's a card I don't know if ever will go to Series 3. I could see him going to 4 though.
I could see Zemo going to 4 because, Gladiator's already at 4. Wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, he is? Actually, then yeah, definitely a lot more. Yeah.
Red Hulk stays 5.
Red Hulk stays whatever series High Evolutionary stays.
So if High Evolutionary drops to 3, Red Hulk drops to 3.
Yep. I'm saying I could see it going all the way down, at least 4. But if they both can exist in the exact same series because it's the same style of ability. That's what my logic is.
U.S. Agent 4.
4, yeah, 4. I don't mind. This can go all the this. If I'm going to cards that again I could see going all the way down, this is one that I could see dropping to Series 3 at some point in the future. Similar to it's just
not like this next.
God, I need to be specific. I'm just saying some point in the future. I'm not meaning this series drop in 2 weeks. I should stop saying it. I'm sorry. I should just stop saying that entirely. But I'm saying in the future here.
Red Guardian stays 5.
I want him 4.
You want him 4, but he stays 5.
Let's pretend like you don't say the words that are probably truthful.
Okay. Valentina goes 4.
Valentina's already 4.
Not Valentina 4. I mean, White Widow. Sorry, I saw both. White Widow goes 4. Unless they change
White
her
Widow.
back. She goes 4.
I don't think she'll change back because it was so oppressive. But I do think she could drop. I think she can go to a. Was it? Yeah, she could drop easily.
Valentina.
If it drop, I don't know. This I'm kind of iffy on.
Blink stays 5.
We gotta
look at these list of cards now that we're talking about. Really, realistically, how many cards dropping?
Mm-hmm. I have. Do we want to make a bet on that? Because at this point, we've named so many that could drop that I don't.
We've probably mentioned at least 30 cards right now.
I will say, for what it's worth, I think that Blink season is the final season of cards I could, in my personal opinion, see really dropping. If they're going to do a big drop, considering it was so recent from the last one. I would like more, but Blink season is the last one with cards I could see dropping. And those cards I would say from Blink season are Blink, Blink, Sage, Namora, Sasquatch.
You think Sage?
It's not again complex abilities. It's just an easy ability to drop. It's not wild. It's not super complicated. It's just a solid ability.
Well, of those options you mentioned, I only can say Namora being one of those to drop.
That's fair. I could, yeah. Which I get. We have all these cards from as well. The what is it? The Eternal season,
yeah,
and technically
Eternals.
Festus dropped in the last one. So maybe.
Yep. Makari drops to Series 4.
Makari's a card that could drop to Series 4.
Or Series 3. Makari could drop to Series 3.
If they do, what is it? After After the turn runs from Series 5 to Series 3, if possible. Unfortunately, that's gonna be up to Ben Brode whether or not that's possible or not.
Yep. Makari, definitely not Airsham.
The last card I'll say here that could be dropping is Speed. And that's the end of where I'm gonna say I think cards could drop.
Not Symbiote Spider-Man and Scarlet Spider. Because activates too crazy.
I mean, Activate is in Series 3. It is. I just also think those are more recent, and they're too recent. That's the only reason I'm going to say those.
So last series drop was December, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had been 2 months since December. And Fastos was in December. And 2 months since Fastos would be...
But they also, I want to
Gwenpool.
say, They also didn't
Bishops.
drop any cards from the prior season. So the what is it? The Blink season. No card from that season dropped. So I'm not going to say definitively 2 months after is the window or whatever.
And also, the series drops we had was one of the most abysmal series drops we've ever had. It was really sad. So that on top of that, you know.
Yeah. But I think Speed is the most recent card I could see dropping.
Okay.
What's the most recent card you could see dropping? And then we give our guess for whoever's closer in turn. Like, how many are actually going to drop here in total? And this is all speculation. In case this isn't obvious, y'all. We should say this again. This is our guessing. None of this is confirmed. None of this is like, yes, these cards are definitely dropping. No, these cards definitely not dropping. We're just giving our own personal opinions based off of no other information other than what we're thinking inside of our brain holes.
Brain holes.
I don't know why I said brain holes.
So these cards should drop, but I don't think so because they were event cards. It would be King Tree and Agony. They
Agony
should drop,
really good.
but they won't drop because they were event cards.
Yeah, those are fair. Those are fair ones. I think, I think that's entirely fair if because of event cards.
Yeah.
Those could drop sooner. I'd agree with that.
But that's the general rundown we have when it comes to the series drops. Like we said, it's just our opinions on it, what we think, and we said 30 to probably 40 different cards there. The odds of that happening are pretty much very minimal in our from the way we think of it here.
Yeah.
But
how many do you think are actually going to drop?
18.
18 is your guess?
18 is my guess.
I was at 21.
Okay.
I don't know where it's going to be, but that's my guess.
21 would be good. I would love for it to be more than 21, but
I'd love for more as well, and I think I'm shooting over the top here. I think last time we talked about series drops, we were like, nothing's dropping. Nothing. But this is specific. They specifically used the words, and again, going with the pea to baked beans analogy, largest series drop ever.
Yep.
So I'm deciding to shoot high and reach for the stars. I'm gonna say 21. You're saying 18. Could be more, could be less.
Yep.
It's gonna be a shame Nico doesn't drop.
It's gonna be real shame Nico doesn't drop. But we're gonna move on over here. We're gonna talk about Redwing. Really briefly. This card's very interesting, guys.
Why are you lying to everyone immediately? This is so rude of you.
Very interesting. If you guys did not know, Redwing is a brand new Series 5 card that is coming out today. That is a 3-cost, 4-powered card. The first time this moves, add a card from your hand to the old location. So, Dan, what do you think about Redwing?
I am still excited about this card. I know I have a differing opinion to you. I am personally thinking that there's a lot of chance here for this card to do really well, because we have never had a card that plays a card from your hand for you. And legitimately, I think this is actually, what is it? Diamondback is my only actual card coming out in Spy Caches that I have higher than this card in my when I rank cards at the beginning of the month. Oh wait, no, never mind. This was my number. No, I was looking at a different list. This was my number 1 card after Sam.
Yep, it was.
You sound so disappointed.
It was your number 1 card after Sam.
I really think that this card has a lot of chance, and I know you don't think that, but I think we just don't have a card that plays a card from your hand. Jubilee can pull from your, a lot of cards can pull from your deck. Jubilee can pull from your deck. Blink can pull from your deck. But your hand is the area where you get the most control from. And I think that something playing a card for you from your hand
at random
is very powerful. Yes, at random, because you can choose which cards are going to be left in your hand. You can empty your hand. You don't get the same control over your deck as you do for your hand. I do think it's going to require a deck that can actually, that doesn't need or have a lot of cards in its hand, or has a lot of cards that it's okay with being dropping in its hand. But again, I know go ahead and say why this card is a lot lower on your list.
So you do have to have a move enabler in order for this ability to work. It only can happen once per game. People thought Spider-Man 2099 was going to be a very good card. And
You did not just hit me with a Spider-Man 2099. You did not just do that. This guy.
First time it moves, it's a random card from your hand. If you have the perfect line where you're like, you're dumping everything in your hand and only has one card left in your hand, the target for sure that this is going to pull. This card, it just like, you got to do a lot of stuff to be able to get like the exact thing you want is what I'm thinking here. Like, you got to make sure, like, I'm going to go with my list first, like Dracula dump here. Like, you're using Black Swan to empty your hand, so you're pretty much left with one 6-cost card in your hand, and that's the card that Dracula absorbs. So, like, you're moving other stuff around to make it so, like, it's a 50-50, whichever one gets pulled. Like, I don't know. It just feels like you're doing a whole lot where other people can just be like, well, I guess I'll just win the other 2 lanes. Redwing's going to move over somewhere, so I know that's going to be at least 4 power somewhere, and then wherever he was, they're dropping something big, so I just play the other locations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, assuming you can move him.
Yeah.
He can be 4 plus whatever other card. It's 4 plus, which is, I'm just going to say 4 plus because that's literally all you do. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of stuff here. Again, I think that you're correct there when you talk about Madam Web being another card you really want in the deck, because when I'm talking about this, I actually think that you could do well in a list where you want to dump a lot of these really big cards and you're getting value. It's similar. I know you were thinking with the Dracula dump.
But like, why? I'm just like, why do you play Redwing in this searcher list opposed to something else?
I think that you have I think you can do good stuff there just because you have these big cards and you need to be able to get value from these big cards. And if you've played Surtur, there are cards that you just simply can't play because you don't have the space on the board still with. Or sorry, the energy left with. And I actually think there's some fun, really interesting ideas in this deck, potentially being able to use Aranya and Madam Web, as well as Cosmo, trying to make it so, for one, you can move these cards into whatever location you'd like to in order to protect them. As well as moving them away and to, locations that are going to be potentially easier for you. I think the worst card in this list, I'm going to say at least right now, is Atuma, and that could easily be swapped, I think, with Ares if it's going to be a bad time, and I think that might be a change is better. But with the rest of these, though, it doesn't, as long as you're moving the cards, you're still getting value from at least protecting them for yourself or Madam Web and Aranya, and then you have those 2 as well as Heimdall also as just another enabler for your Redwing. So on the final turn, imagine you haven't done the Madam Web, you haven't done Aranya for other stuff. You just drop your Heimdall, Redwing moves, and then whatever you have left in your hand drops onto the board. And that's part of the reason why I also have Red Hulk in the list, because I think Red Hulk gives you an alternative line there if you as another good target to get dropped other than whatever else you might have. To be fair, you could easily not get as many great things, but that's part of the reason why I have so much of this deck top heavy, because if you don't play the cards you were trying to, then Redwing will play it for you. That's my logic here, anyway.
And like, I see where your head's at. I do see where your head's at.
The bone you're throwing me is so sweet. Can I just say that real quick? Yeah, I'm happy to be wrong. I will be, but I think that there's.
Well, I mean, I could also be wrong too. Like it could go either way.
No, we can't be wrong.
It could go either way.
We can't be. Tucker, I'm lying to everyone else. We won't be. There's no way we could be wrong. No. Definitely not. Definitely not like we were, potentially wrong about our who we thought would get hit in an OTA.
Yeah, Oh man, this card, and like I know how we're feeling about like Thaddeus now, and like I'm still high on Thaddeus. Like I still think Thaddeus is a like copium good card. I think he does get better next season too with Starbrand. I mean, Redwing I don't know. Someone's gonna make a really cool list, and like they're gonna get Redwing to work, and like I have no doubt about it. Like that is going to happen, and they're gonna do incredible with it. But every other list for Redwing is just not gonna be as good, and it's just gonna be like a single shell Redwing kind of thing.
I think it's gonna be, what is it? You have to build. I think the thing that's gonna either, what is it? It's either going to absolutely kill Redwing, or it's gonna be the part that makes him a unique card.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm gonna say uniquely. Just don't mean unique as in like it's weird, it's quirky. No, I mean uniquely as in different, and hopefully useful. The part that could make it different is the fact that you need to put the enablers in the deck for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it is. What is it? Oh well, I'll have to wait and see. But I mean, I will say though, you mentioned Thaddeus. I did not enjoy Thaddeus. I tried. I think I spent like 6 hours on stream trying to play Thaddeus. I think I showed you it. I tried, Tucker. I couldn't. I didn't see a list, and I think this is where, again, the cards are going to differ, which is, it's cool that, by the way, it's 2 different cards we have such different opinions on back to back. I think that Thaddeus is always the card that's first to be replaced in a list. And if you have Redwing in the list, I think you have to build your whole list around it, which might make it worse. But I think you have to build the list with a Redwing in mind.
I think I hear you, and I think
this is the most you've disagreed with me, I think, in a long time. The amount of gimmies you're giving me is amazing.
And I think another reason why people are lower on Thaddeus too is because we genuinely had a good OTA that made you not want to play Thaddeus anymore. It wanted you to play the OTA cards more. Especially
Do you want to talk about the OTA?
Yes, we'll talk about the OTA. Like, when you think about the cards in that 2-cost slot, especially is like what I'm thinking, which we'll go back to the scene over here. Which, like, you think of Adam Warlock and like the way he actually functions now. But I will say, I've been getting way more value with Thaddeus Ross post the first couple days because people aren't playing all sorts of stuff on curve. Like, I'm actually getting more value with the card itself, and I really think like the Sauron shell is feeling like a really good home for him. And High Evo actually had a boost this week as well because there were some High Evo decks that were working with the card. It's a boring card, don't get me wrong. Like, it's an entirely boring card. But I digress, and I do think like this OTA this week, I really, really enjoyed.
I did. I'll say that this is, what is it? Going at least to something we can hopefully agree on. I think this OTA was actually pretty sick. I think the OTA was a lot of fun. It did a lot of good things. And I think the gripe that I have with this OTA, which I don't want to have a gripe, but the gripe that I do legitimately have is it feels like this OTA could have and maybe should have, and again, I know they've been dealing with stuff in the back end, could have and should have maybe come out like a month ago. Maybe a month ago, maybe the last OTA, whatever. Like, these feel like changes that are just, and part of the OTA is supposed to be like, you know, they're supposed to have their pulse in the meta and like doing stuff quickly. It just feels like the OTA is just behind.
Yes.
Feels like this stuff, what is it? I'm going to say, actually, Adam Warlock, the change to him is one I'm going to exclude from that group.
Yeah.
Because Adam Warlock, going from the 5/5, right, with his old ability of after each turn draw a card if you're winning here, to his new ability, which brings him back to his original 2/0 stat line, where still has the after turn each draw a card if you're winning here, but otherwise, if you're not winning here, you gain +1 power. This is a really cool ability I really like, and I think just the otherwise +1 power, literally 3 words, Tucker, that just made this card so different. It's awesome. I love this change.
Yeah, no, I think this brought life to a variety of lists. Like, actually, I think like this change, like the Sunspot change is interesting. Like, if Kim getting 1 power, it's like OG Sunspot again. Like, that's cool. They're trying to kind of push High Evo just a little bit more, or, you know,
which is why they're going to drop it to Series 3. Sorry.
They're going to drop a Series 3, and, you know, they have cards that, you know, enable some kind of stuff like this a little bit. They had Scorpion to help with Affliction, which is just going to continue to get better as this season progresses with Diamondback and Laufey and, you know, whatchamacallit. I think those are the 2.
I think that's the only two terms of just specifically this season cards, right? But
and when they nerf Luke Cage,
please. Anyway, but again, both of so both Sunspot and Scorpion, just for your audio listeners, they both got a additional point of power. Sunspot going from a 1-0 to 1-1, Scorpion going from a 2-2 to a 2-3. I think both these make perfect sense. I think similar to the way that Okoye now is a 2-3 that gives your entire deck +1. Scorpion afflicting your opponent's hand with -1 power. It's also, I will say the Scorpion one in particular. You already hit a lot of stuff on the high Evo stuff with Sunspot. The Scorpion one's I think it's a very pointed direction to being like, hey, you know this Surtur deck that you're annoyed with, that you feel like is everywhere. Just use Scorpion, and then their cards have less power. Then they don't have 10 power anymore. 5-head. What are you doing?
Yeah.
By the way, I 5-head, right? That's the thing where you're just be smarter, right? Whatever. Yeah. My wife didn't know that, and I told that to her. She said, "You think I have a massive forehead?" I was like, "No, babe. It's like a gamer thing where you're just saying it's like a really smart thing to do. I was telling you, you're being really smart." And she's like, "Why do you think my forehead's so big?" And I'm like,
"Oh my gosh, that's
sorry."
So funny.
And I just remembered that. Anyway, sorry entirely. But it was a really cool idea until they bring Luke Cage into the list that fits, and that list uses that, whatever. But I think
they did make Surtur have a power cap.
This is good. What do you think of this change? I want to hear this stuff from you because I have a here on this guy.
This didn't make Surtur bad at all. Like, it's a nerf, yes.
No, hold up. I'm so sorry. You just said this didn't make Surtur bad. I was streaming when the OTA happened, Tucker. My chat was full of people saying that Surtur was dead. So, are you trying to say that people make snap judgment decisions based off of no actual information and just their gut feeling? And people should maybe wait a second before saying that a card is explicitly dead.
I cannot confirm nor deny what was said or not said in your chat. I just will affirm that Surtur is not dead.
Surtur's not dead. Surtur's fine. It's still actually annoying. I mean, the deck's still good, right? It just makes it so that you can still get the free scar or whatever at the end of the game. It just also means that, the deck just does it gets that free scar. It just doesn't get 15 additional extra power onto the card because you played even cheaper cards or even more expensive cards, whatever, right? Like,
I mean, Surtur Slam definitely got affected by this, but we're not playing that iteration of the Hitmonkey Slam now, anyways. That's like one of the main things. I mean, more often than not, I mean, your Surtur could get to like 13 power or maybe like 16 very rarely.
Right, yeah.
So hitting 11 at most. Ooh. Like, it's like, oh, okay. Like, it's the original stat line I had of the Season Pass card. And, like, the win rate from this card, if we're looking at the stats again, which we'll go back to this other scene just for a second. Looking at the stats here, okay? This is Surtur pre-OTA, right here, okay? Which is a 56.5% win rate, 9.7% popularity, average cubes, plus 0.26. Post-OTA, 6.5% popularity, dropped 3%. Win rate dropped, 0.6%? And cube rate dropped 0.02.
I think that this deck will, and I think you said it great. I think you did, or maybe Guest did last week, where I think that this deck needs a hit to Surtur, to Scar for this deck to be good, because you have to hit.
Guest.
They even said that in the notes, right? Yeah, okay. Where they, when they talked about Surtur, they said, They need to make a change. They're starting with a firm one. They had to make it so Surtur still drop power, whatever. Like, the two cards they can hit in the Surtur Scar deck are Surtur and Scar. You hit any other cards, and there are other cards that they will substitute. Like, if you hit Ares because of that deck, then people would just be running, I don't know, a different 4.
I mean, they're just going to put Starbrand in their next season anyways. Like,
exactly. So I think that this is a fine change for now, but they also need Scar. There needs to be a different hit in this deck. I don't know what that looks like, but there needs to be another hit in this list in order for this deck to not be such a good deck.
Scar 711.
I don't mind it. And I honestly think that I still think the card would be very good then.
Mm-hmm. Scar 711 or 712,
Yep.
whichever.
And one of the interesting point, Surtur, they literally said, by the way, was actually made so you could get Scar for free. And that's right. That's what they talked about. I think they talked about when the card came out. And they said they wanted a way for you to be able to more consistently enable Scar. And I really don't think I don't think that's a good place for this card to exist at. And I think as we spend more time here in this card, it's so pigeonholed into that spot that I don't think it's good.
You mean like good for the meta?
I don't think it's good for the meta. I don't think it's good for the meta. I don't think that if we're going to talk about as well, like what that deck needs, I don't think that deck needs a consistent enabler. And I think it becomes just straight up too good there. And I think that we're not going to be seeing the end of Surtur, obviously by its stats. And I think if and until we get another nerf, the card's still going to exist.
Yeah. And we don't want cards to be dead. Like, surely we don't want cards to be dead.
No.
We just want them to feel a little bit less oppressive. And I think Surtur still feels oppressive, like this guy.
Not a best deck. This again, no, and Tucker, I will let you know that my chat when they read about this Doom 2099 nerf, Doom 2099 deceased, dead archetype, dead card, cannot be used. So whatever you're about to say here, it better be how this card absolutely sucks and there's no way to play it, because that's what I heard was happening when this card was hit.
So this card, the 2099 Doombots have less power now. So like they aren't as quote unquote oppressive on the board. But if you were to, look at some of the games we've been playing and, one of the main decks that runs this now, yes, it is a good change that they're not 4-2 because now they can be hit by Lady Deathstrike. But who is running Lady Deathstrike right now?
The metagame staple?
The metagame staple, Lady Deathstrike. Yes, Enchantress is a 4/6 now. You can use Enchantress and it disables the ongoings on these, right? Surely, you get the value. You run U.S. Agent and it adds, negates 3 power off this card if it's in a lane, This card's still good. It's just so annoying to face, and it feels like, is it weird for me to say? It probably is, right? That I dislike this card more than I disliked Old Sandman.
Where it only let you play one card a turn?
Yeah.
I don't think so. This is a card. What is it? So I remember when this season came out, the card was shown. This was a card I said was going to be one of my favorites, and I said I fully expect to not like this card after playing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm correct there. The card was good. It's just the fact that it feels like I don't want to say it's like no effort almost, right? It just kind of feels like they just kind of win the game based off of nothing. Again, this is just a card that I feel like this was a change. I'm glad they hit it.
Yes.
And I just think they need to hit it again.
Yes, hit it again. And it's like, at least with Hela, I know what cards have been discarded, and I can kind of calculate where this is going to go. With Doom 2099, I have to calculate which location the card might land in, the math that's going to be on each and every single one of the Doom bots. Are they playing this iteration or are they playing this iteration? Are they only going to be playing one card this turn? Like, am I complaining too much that I have to do too much mental math of the card? Or
it's also not just mental math, because you also have to mentally roll a dice. Be like, okay, they've got 3 slots open on their board. If it goes to this spot, I lose, and then the other 2 I'm fine at. And it goes to the spot where you lose. It's just... And they buffed Doom 2099 because they nerfed the Doom bots because they didn't want it to be as good to ramp out early, because that's what like the Airship decks and such were doing. They also, but they also didn't want to nerf the card below 4/2 because they didn't want to give it synergy with Arona, which again, I want to say I really appreciate the fact they were up front about that stuff. I just fully believe that this card should be it's a 4/2, 4/2 for the base, 4/0 in the back line. and that's the only way this card I think could potentially exist. I think every single one of these cards taking a hit still makes this a very good card.
Yeah.
Because it's just, like you said, they get rewarded, it feels like, for just kind of playing one card a turn. And I get people are going to enjoy it. Play the deck that you enjoy, whatever. I don't enjoy it.
Yeah, I wish
it just doesn't feel like I'm
though.
doing anything.
Because, like, the Red Guardian value went down with this, too. Like, I feel like at a 4-2, it would have been better than the 4-0. I think it's still, like, it really still, in my opinion, could have lived at a 4-2, 4-0. Like, more often than not, you're getting at least 2 of these bots on the board anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, your Doom 2099 is going to go to a 4-4. But, like, in Airshim, he's going to go to a 4-5 because, you know, it's Airshim. And, like, my Airshim opponents, like, still, they have Doom 2099 every single game on curve. And it's just, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, for what it's worth, they also did say, actually, in the OTAs that came out, in, like, Team Answers the exact same day, they actually did say in someone to being like, you can't Lady Death Strike. It's harder to use. What is it? It's also harder to use Red Guardian. And they were having an issue with this, with the Doom 29 change because of that. And Glenn actually did say they did consider the aspect. However, they didn't want the goal for the metagame to become reliant on Guardian or Death Strike as release valves. They should be effective options, but not required. They felt like reducing the total power in all games would offset being less vulnerable to those 2 cards. And I can understand them not wanting to just completely kill a card. Because again, I know you're going to say there's stuff that people are going to be like, it's pay to win, right? They didn't want to nerf this card that, you know, people spent money on. Yeah, a little bit. They don't want the card to be trash.
Yeah.
They want the card to still exist. So maybe they took a lighter hand here, and I think they're going to have to do a heavier hand later. And I think they know that, and they're going to live with that whenever that occurs. But also, this card is not, I don't think it's hit down enough.
Yeah.
But if my first thing, what is it with this card is, hey, you spent 6,000 collector tokens on it, or maybe you bought a bundle that had 6,000 collector tokens for $50. You spent $50 on this card.
Yeah.
And then we bring it all the way down to nothing, and it's just not good at all. That's feels bad as well for people who actually did that. So I think that's what their logic was there. I don't know stuff, but I'm trying to give logic here as well because I'm annoyed with the card, and I have to imagine Second Dinner knows that this card is probably still a problem. Hopefully they know that about Surd as well. To be fair though, Tucker, there were a couple other changes in this OTA. We spent so long on these already. Wiccan lost point of power. Again, okay. When did I say this should start happening? When did I say this should start happening?
You said that, what, like 2, 3 OTA predictions ago?
Yeah, a while ago. Why is this now?
Sorry, Philip. We know you love Wiccan, Philip, but it was time.
I enjoy Wiccan too. It doesn't mean that I can't say that I don't. I can recognize when a card should get hit. So the fact that this card is so this card is the biggest one that makes me say, like, I feel like they're so behind on this stuff.
Yeah. Because
as of late, I don't think Wiccan decks have been everywhere. If you're going to talk about the last 2 months, I don't think we've seen a lot of Wiccan decks.
Right.
But you talk about a month ago, 2 months ago, I think this OTA would have made a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just like feels like an OTA that was on the back burner, and then they're like, oh, maybe we should do this. But like,
yeah,
good change.
Okay, good change. I'm just saying, should have happened a bit ago.
Yeah.
And Sarah got it to a 5/5.
Good change.
Sure, that's what she was at originally. This is one where I was gonna say, I had people say this is just active power creep. We just actually have more than one option now for power, or for like cost or energy reduction, energy discounts. And so, especially with how awkward 5-cost cards are.
Yep. And we needed another like just enabler for like counters against Doom 2099, and this brought back some Sarah Tech, and I've been playing some Sarah Tech, and it feels good into the meta right now.
Exactly. I agree.
Which brings us now, we've been ranting a lot. So we do have this last segment where we do have more to rant about. It's not going to be an hour. It's not going to be an hour. I honestly feel like I got a lot of my ranting out during the Series 4 and Series 5 talk.
Yeah, I think, what is it? I think you did. Do you want to give a TLDR at least to at least you got a lot of the points out, but at least to like hone it at least during this last little bit here. Do you want to say that?
Yes.
Maybe pull up baby Thaddeus Ross on the screen just so you can have a good showcase for what you'd like to discuss, or even
So like one of my biggest gripes with Snap right now, and I'm sure you guys are feeling the same way, is that every card, unless it's an event card where you have to literally grind for, is releasing as a Series 5 card. Whether it's a Spotlight, or if you're buying it just straight up, it is 6,000 tokens, it's Series 5, and a lot of these cards just aren't feeling like they are worthy of being labeled as a Series 5 card. I think it would just be way different if we actually got some of these cards to be Series 4. I mean, granted, we don't have a really solid foundation when it comes to the economy in the game right now, which I know it's something they're trying to fix going forward, but it feels like some of these abilities are lackluster for the price tag that they have. Yes, this is, it draws a card that has 10 or more power, and like it is a targeted draw, but it still feels like this ability is something you could have put on a different card, like a Series 4 card. Like when I think of a Series 5 card, I want it to be either a really archetype defining card or like something that really gives you something new to play with, where this kind of just feels like a helpful card and like something that kind of enables your other more expensive or your other really cool cards. And I think that's what Series 4 really felt like. Not last year, but the year prior, especially when you look at, I specifically go to Loki season. You have the counter tech card with Mobius, which is an enabler that you plug into your deck to be able to help that kind of archetype of just countering what your opponent's doing. And then you also have your enabling card when it comes to Ravonna, which Ravonna, enabled any cards that had 0 or less power to have that at discount of -1. So like it enabled you to get your archetype, your Mr. Negative going, or it enabled you to be able to get your Iron Man, your Mystique out. Now your Null, or even your Zola out to be able to do some Dawkins shenanigans. Like, it just feels like Series 4 and Series 5 are at a really weird stage right now because a lot of these newer cards they've plugged into Series 5 are a mix of what should be Series 4 cards and then Series 5 cards. And I think something honing back to what we were saying too about Series 5 and Series 4 cards, like when we were talking about the series drops, I would love for there to be another aspect in the game where you could earn said cards. Maybe it's a different type of currency in the game you get from just completing matches normally through ladder, and that maybe they're going to be at a higher premium to be able to get some of these, Series 4, Series 5 cards, but you're at least earning something each game opposed to just boosters. Something that you can genuinely spend, not just having to play Conquest to get medals to be able to get random boosters for cards. Maybe it is going to be way more expensive, but I know people to get thousands and thousands and thousands of medals if you're just playing Conquest that just don't really want to spend it on boosters, and they just kind of sit there. So I just wish there was another way that wasn't just a limited time game mode, because when we're looking at Sanctum Showdown, you're going to have to grind. And I believe the devs have said, like, you're only really going to be able to get 2 of the new cards if you can play like the entire way normally, and that's 2 of the brand new cards. That's not including like the Series 4, Series 5 option as well, which is almost double the price of just getting the brand new cards. So something's got to change, and I'm just really hoping that this card acquisition isn't just series drops, and that there is going to be a new way or a new economy that's going to be just transpiring with Snap, with a new publisher too, to kind of push that narrative a bit more. But I want this for us. I want this for the entire community. I know I'm not playing Snap as much anymore, but like I still love Snap and I still love the community. And if Snap continues to grow, we all continue to grow. And I think it starts with just card acquisition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I said a lot of other stuff again about that as well just earlier, but yeah, I agree. At least as a final thing, card acquisition definitively needs to be. Hopefully they do well. Hopefully they do well with this card acquisition. We don't know what it's going to be like, but it's in what is it? It's not this. It's not going to be this Tuesday nor next Tuesday. it will be the Tuesday following, which whenever that does occur, we will probably have a delay in when we typically put up our episode, similar to what we did for last week, where we will try to make sure that the episode goes live after the patch has dropped, so we could actually talk about those details with all of you, give our immediate thoughts and feedback, or at least a better understanding of what is actually dropping in said patch. Just so y'all know what we're looking to do in the future. But yeah, no. Do you mind if I give my my rant here?
You have the floor.
Yeah. Again, won't take forever because fun fact, y'all. We actually Tucker and I said, let's aim for under an hour this week. You can see the timestamp in the video. But my point is that I don't believe Series 4 and 4 cost and 5 cost cards in the game are as well defined. I think that there is a lot of crossbreeding in between them that makes those cards not make sense. Some of that stuff comes from cards being newer series. Some of that cards comes from older series cards. And part of the stuff that could just potentially even fix an issue like that would just be cards having a spread out, just maybe a lot of the older cards being buffed to at least be beneficial. But a very simple thing that I'm going to talk about, and I think one of the things that really drove this home for me, is looking at Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman is a 5/8 with the on reveal that you may afflict all enemy cards here with -1 power. She is a 5/12 at max. When you look at a card like Laufey, who is a 4 cost, he says on reveal steal 1 power from each card here. That could potentially be stopped by a Luke Cage, or you could have a Luke Cage in your board, and it could also hit your cards inside of the board. However, just on his own, he gets to a 4/12. Or a 4/13, I believe, actually, technically. Or,
4/13.
No, it's 4/12, actually, because he gets +3 from the other 3 cards you could have there, and then +4 from the other cards on the other side. So 4/12, my bad.
Was he 4? Isn't he 4/6?
I'm seeing on Snap the Fan 4/5. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was 4/5.
If he's 4/5, he's 4/12. But he
4/5,
also technically is a 4/16 if they have 4 cards over, because you're stealing power from them as well. Because he's gaining that power, and then they're also losing 4 power on top of that. But I digress.
And as a as a 4/16, let's go with the crazy number because it's gonna send my point home, and it's maybe not the most based in logic, but I refuse to accept your reality and I substitute my own. We then look at a card that we then look at a card akin to Drax, who you have to know exactly where your opponent's gonna play the card. And the only way you do that is by playing either Jean Grey or Debris, pretty much, or like having a location to lock it out.
Daredevil.
It's not very easy to do that. Daredevil, of course. Tucker, I get to Don't worry, if I know where my opponent's playing a card for this 4-cost card, I'm not even gonna trigger Asserter. Yep. And then if you get to your 5 costs, your 5 costs are in a very particular place because with your 5 costs, they have to be something that will either enable your final turn, or they are a card you are planning to win the game with, typically as a 5 cost. You've got your Black Panthers. Maybe you're trying to do Symbiote Spider-Man stuff in combination with Zola. Your Blue Marvels are enabling your Gilgamesh, which is another card you have to play on turn 6. Your Cannonballs are a card you have to play on its own because it's just winning that own lane. You have your Ajax. You have your, or you're playing cards that actually you're going to get other value from, and they're actually maybe decent 5-cost cards. Your Iron Men, your Jane Fosters. We're going to pretend like Kang doesn't exist because I can't argue for Kang. But
you see what you're playing, dude?
Of course, I'm so sorry. Damn it, you've got me there. It's just your 4 costs are 4 costs are either, it feels like, a way to win the game, or they're a tech card that lets you boost your other cards. Your Khazars are buffing other things. Your Gwenpools are you're not winning the game off of Gwenpool. You're buffing other stuff. Your Enchantress, or you've got your tech cards here. Your Doom 29s. These cards, there's a lot of different crossbreed here, and a lot of questions of what is actually going to be worth it. What's just a tech card? What is your game-winning piece? What's just helping you build your engine? And the lines between 5 and 4 costs, I don't think are clearly defined in that front, where I'm going to look at the value I get from a card like Namora. I don't think Namora you're going to get value from. You have to build an engine for Namora to be good. the engine you're going to get from there isn't crazy amount. You're probably getting, you could technically go all the way up to 517 technically, but you're probably going closer to 512, which is about average apparently according to Aries.
Mm-hmm.
It's also, I know it's also technically not the best argument to argue another card to another card, but I'm trying to argue a bunch of cards to a bunch of different cards to show that there is discrepancy because there's not a clear better choice between them here, and that like one cost kind of feels like it's just a worse version of another cost. And I guess maybe that's how all costs are supposed to work, and maybe the whole argument that is fine. But I know Second Dinner said they're trying to figure out what they wanted 4-cost cards to be after Zabu was nerfed. And I think they've come better on trying to figure that out. I think they've done better at the 4 costs, but I think as a result of that, 5 costs feel very lackluster. Whereas I've got Cersei, 2099, Valkyrie. White Tiger is okay early on. You've got your Visions. I've got Ronin. I've got, what is it? I know they've just buffed Sarah. Red Skull, you're playing some games with. Sandman's kind of coming back, but like a lot of these cards, you're having to commit this big final turn for them, and if it's not the big final turn, it's the turn before the final turn. Mm-hmm. And that still just also feels awkward because it's not even an engine at that point. You're kind of wrapping up the game already. I don't think that a lot of these cards currently make sense with the costs and the powers. And part of that, again, like I said, goes into the Series 1 versus Series 5, whatever, just that whole correlation in between them and trying to make sure that everything stays okay at the early game. Maybe it doesn't become relevant later in the game. But I think that a lot of the Series 5 cards that are trying to be tech pieces, like Namora, or like pieces of a cog, like Namora, like Valkyrie, like Cersei, like Spider-Man 2099, those pieces that are trying to be specific individual things, I'll say Black Bolt as well, just as another one. I don't think they work as well in this meta, and I think whatever you're going to need to do for that 5-cost card, I think it needs to be something that you finish the game with, as I think we're going to see with the Data Mind Agamotto coming out next month, who is a 5-cost. And by the way, base 510. And Abomination's 5.9. Sure, early player experience, whatever. As someone who really cares about the early player experience, that doesn't still make sense to me. But anyway, there is so many of those cards that just exist in this place for 5-cost that I feel like don't work, and so many of the 4-cost cards that I don't think have been updated for what Second Dinner now understands what a 4-cost card should be. And I think these 2 costs are going to be an issue for a bit. Mm-hmm. My point is just that I don't know what they're supposed to be, and I think Second Dinner has gotten better at their job in terms of 4-cost cards. I think 5-cost cards are falling by the wayside, and I'm not gonna. And this is potentially using like a slippery slope fallacy if you're gonna care about the argumentative side. But Starbrand being a 310, as cool as the card's gonna be, I'm excited for it. I hope they're not slipping on their 3 costs with also having Luna Snow needing to be a 3/6. Maybe it's just the way the card has to be in order to be a good card. Just that whole section, that whole area is just stuff that I'm like, really? This is what we're like trying to go for. This is where we're at, and I just want I want that to make sense. I want it to feel good. That's my whole logic here. I just think that these 2 different costs don't feel good, and I want them to feel better.
Yeah, no, I think it's valid. I honestly, before last OTA, forgot Luna Snow was a card in the game. It's like, I think that's totally valid. Like the dynamic between 4 and 5 cost really has been disrupted since Zabu first came out, and they they did make brand new 5 cost, and like they had Blink, they had all these other things that were cool for what they did, but it still feels like the 4 cost slot is just better. It has more of the tech pieces. It's just overshadows.
And I get if slots are going to be better.
Yeah.
Right. But I just want the slot. I just want a cost to have a purpose. I want there to be a purpose for there to be 5-card costs rather than being like, yeah, Devil Dino is a card you play early in the game. You don't ever play him again.
Yeah. No. And I want you guys to stop what you're doing right now. I want you guys to look down in the description. You have all the links to Not My Dance's channels. I need you guys to pause the video right after you click the links to all of his channels, and I need you guys to follow him on all of his platforms, whether that is Twitch, YouTube, Twitter/X, TikTok. He will be working on TikTok soon, don't worry. He is making YouTube videos again, guys, and you guys definitely need to check him out. Absolutely fantastic content, whether that is Marvel Snap content, whether that is a variety content while he's streaming and stuff too. You guys need to check Dance out. Just an absolutely incredible creator. All of his info will be down in the description below.
But thankfully, as you're down there, you've realized, wait a second, I'm already at youtube.com/@Tucker. I can just hit the subscribe button right here. And that's what you're going to do. You're going to hit that subscribe button over here. And then you're going to realize, wait, he streams too? And you're going to go over to his Twitch channel and you're going to watch his Twitch streams. You're going to follow him there. You're going to maybe even drop a tier 1 sub. If you got Prime, you can do that for free. Take a little money out of Jeffrey Bezos' pocket. He doesn't need that. Jeffrey Bezos has enough gold. He doesn't need your additional stuff. You can also, You can also go follow him over on Twitter/X. Tucker's trying to get me on TikTok. I'm trying to get him on Blue Sky. I'll let you know which one of us breaks first. He's an absolutely great guy. You really should be following him. He does a lot of really great content and is just a upstanding individual who I really appreciate. I'm glad we both got those rants off our chest. I've been leading to my rant for like 2 weeks now. Yours is a rant that I know that you've been sitting on for a second as well. So it's nice to at least get those off our chest today, Tuck.
Yeah, no, I think it was incredible. And also, if you guys want to rant, feel free to rant down in the comment section below. Also, let us know if you agree with any of our takes and any of your hopes for Series 4 and Series 5 cards. If you guys are watching this, of course, before they've announced what cards are dropping.
And if you're watching after,
yeah,
what do you think of those drops?
Yes,
we'll fully react to them next week. But what do you think about them now? We'll maybe take some of your opinions into account when we talk about that.
For sure. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Till the next time, good luck. Let us know what you guys think of Redwing. And yeah, laters.